So what is your job? Are you an air traffic controller? Maybe you're a mailman. Maybe you're in the service industry, like that guy. Maybe you're a trash collector. Maybe you don't have a job, and that's why you're watching my videos, huh? Whatever your job is, most of them aren't simulated by a video game. You know, they're quiet. Well, it's possible that you work in a restaurant, you know, and you flip burgers. Man, burger time, man, burger time. Okay, that's representation, I suppose. But I'm talking about something a little bit deeper. Again, most games don't represent a real job. And don't get me into athletes, NFL or NBA. Hey man, these guys work for a living. That's a simulation, not a job simulation, no. But again, I want to talk about games that kind of simulate a job or are based on a job or inspired by a real job. Oh man, what the hell? Why didn't I think of that sooner?
Whatever it is, just ask. I want a job here.
Hey, do your job. Okay, so no, this is not a Sega title, nor is it on a Sega console. However, I had to get this because I've been lucky enough to go to Europe for several vacations, and places like Austria and Switzerland, and most notably Germany. And one of my takeaways from those trips was just the complexity and enormity and efficiency of their train systems out there. I became, obviously, most kids love trains, and I'm still a kid, so I fell in love with it. I wanted to know more about it, and it feels like a job that I would like to have. So, a simulation, not like, an arcade kind of thing, but a real simulation, man, I had to have it, and it's fantastic.
This is a 3-car variant delivered to the S-Bahn Deutschland network in 2013.
All right, so this is no joke. This is a game, yes, but it's a simulation. And it's not a boring one either, unless, you just have no interest in trains and whatnot. I mean, most people would find this extremely boring. You're not running around with a machine gun and blowing things away and dancing afterwards, but this is extremely accurate. The architecture, the designs of the stations, they're all pretty much spot on. The trains themselves, all of it, the compartments, it all works. And this is not one of those games where, you strap yourself in, press start, drive train, win game. You have to actually learn step by step how this thing works, how to prime the battery, how to, turn on the reverser, take this off, put this on, close this, turn this on, before you can ever think about going anywhere. I mean, you can rev the engines up all you want, but you're not going to go anywhere until you take all the proper steps. And learning all kinds of new terms, like pantograph and catenary and things of that nature that I'd always asked out loud. I'm like, how'd they build that? What's that called? This game kind of goes over that. And it's extremely relaxing and kind of therapeutic to kind of sit and drive a train station to station, following the speed limit, using the time limit that you're given a grade. You are actually driving this train. You feel like it's a job. I actually felt like once I was finished that if there were an emergency on a train out in Germany or something like that, I could be like, hey, I can drive this train, please. It's wonderful. It's very gratifying. And I tell you what, if you're in love with trains like I am, and you're in love with European trains especially, this is an absolute winner. It's an absolute must-have. So I was extraordinarily surprised and pleasantly surprised. So it's a learning experience from start to finish. And you can either drive trains in Europe, you can drive trains on the Great Western Expressway, all kinds of stuff, and lots of downloadable content as well. Except for this joker, I don't know where he came from. Yo, man, quit looking at me. Go back in the passenger cab or something. Go away. Ah, yes, this is familiar. Well, look, the Dreamcast is a wonderful machine, but it's kind of showing its age. Every once in a while, you kind of have to give it a warm-up spin, so to speak, to get the game working, so.
Hey, come on over, have some fun with Crazy Taxi!
Yeah, we gonna have some fun.
Hey, it's time to make some crazy money. Are you ready?
Here we go. Okay, so when this game first came out, I was all pro Dreamcast. I loved it. I had to have it. Anything that pretty much came out on the Dreamcast back then, I was going to be a fan of it. I never played this in the arcade. Matter of fact, I don't even know if there was an arcade version of this, but skipping all that. Initially, I was kind of turned off by hearing, Offspring and some of the other modern popular bands at the time. I was kind of heady and pretentious and young, so I wanted to hear some in-house Sega music. I didn't want to hear that kind of crap, but as I've aged and gotten older, it's actually relatively appropriate and it works. So I have no problem turning it up and playing it and listening to it. It's actually very, very funny. Besides, back then, my job, I was working in a kitchen somewhere, I think, slinging ash. But hey, being a taxi driver is a real job, right? I don't think I'd make a good taxi driver at all. But hey, this is an actual profession for many people, and the game is based on that. Now, it's no simulation, don't get me wrong, but it works as the theme involved. So. It's actually, again, a lot more fun than I remember, and it's kind of a hoot. So finally, this is not an accurate depiction of being a taxi driver, but at least they got the customers right.
How you did today? Now let's take a look. Class E license. No, not good enough.
What's that? Oh, I know. It's the ugliest kid to ever grace box art. Paperboy. Well, I guess that they were at least trying to teach some vocabulary in this game. I don't recall this at all. So a long time ago, a friend of mine described this game as Zaxxon with newspapers. Okay, actually, that never happened. Look, I grew up playing this on the NES. I never had the Genesis version. I have it now, mainly just to... collect space. Never stop collecting, right? But either way, I have it now and I'm playing it, and it's still Paperboy. Granted, there are some more colors and there's some better sound effects and there's some voiceovers and whatnot, but it's still the same thing. You're a kid and you deliver papers. That's one of the first jobs that most kids have. I don't remember it being this difficult, and that's the whole point of the game for sure. This is not a realistic representation, but it is a job you had as a kid, delivering papers. Fight! Yeah, you going down, boys. That's what I'm talking about. Get out of my way. Well, it's better that I called it quits and wasn't fired, so I must have been pretty good at some point. Yeah. Alright, so anyway, yeah, Paperboy. I would never have bought this for the Sega Genesis, back in the day, because by the time I had this, I was too old. I was pretty much a young adult, young teenager, whatnot. I wouldn't be caught dead with it. That's why I played it for the NES. But there might have been some 8, 9, 10-year-old kids that had a Sega Genesis and, would have had this in their library. So good for them. But, hey, it's dangerous, right? I mean, there's all kinds of road signs, and there's people fighting, and there's burglars, and there's funerals going on, including yours. Damn. So yeah, that's enough Paperboy. I think I'm just gonna go ahead and play some Ultra Core now. Excuse me. I'll be back.
Enough.
Whoa, wait, hold up! I'll be man! I just happen to know a number of foremen in charge of cargo!
Really?
Hey, anything for you, bro?
Can you ask?
Okay, meet me at noon tomorrow, in front of the big blue door of warehouse number 1.
12 noon, warehouse number 1, in front of the big blue door.
Right on, bro. See ya. Yo, bro! I've got you a job, man!
Alright, so I'm poking some fun at Shenmue here, but again, I include this briefly because everyone remembers the forklift race. But before that, you actually had to get a job as a forklift operator. you didn't learn really how to drive a forklift, but you still had to drive one and put boxes in the right place and earn a paycheck and whatnot. So that's a real job, no doubt about it. And included in Shenmue like that, I think is a big bonus, and I think was brave. So here we go.
Thank you very much.
So, yeah, this is obviously a game aimed for the late 90s anti-authority crowd. I can easily see a bunch of wannabe punks smoking joints and enjoying punching the working types and cycling away from cops and such. And, being a courier, yeah, there's a job with no boss over your shoulder all the time, allowing you freedom of movement and doing bike tricks while making cash. It's, edgy anti-jock head-banging music, rebellious attitudes, and a big middle finger to the working class. It's all part of this game's ilk. And, frankly, it isn't done that badly. It's kind of laughable to see and feel that kind of atmosphere now, but, I remember being that kind of a skater kid, and guess what? The engine and gameplay aren't the worst out there. Oh, and guess what? Being a career, it's a job. You can be fired, promoted, etc., etc., and, for a title that went under the radar for a lot of people, it's worthy to pick up and look at. If you're a collector, it can be had for a relatively reasonable price these days, and about the price of a quarter sack. And I think those are around the same price these days. Anyway, yeah, Courier Crisis. Give it a look, and guess what? It's a job. Even though I was never a courier, probably never could be, would never want to be. It seems like the job that would fit the type of people that would play it. So, the makers, GE, they did their research. It fits. This is the kind of game that these kind of people, would play. So, there you go. So, yeah, bottom line is we all have jobs. We all make money, and what we do with our own money is our own business, and that's cool, but if you don't have a job, then you can come over here and clean up my basement. Oh, I almost forgot. Keep collecting. Sega.